Imagine waking up on your 80th birthday, looking in the mirror, and realizing you're still young. Your body is strong, your mind sharp, and you have over 120 years ahead of you. What would you do with that time? Would life feel more fulfilling or more exhausting? Tonight, we dive deep into a question that changes everything. What if humans lived for 200 years? How would society function? Would we be happier, or would life lose its meaning? By the end of this video, you might never see time the same way again. The first 100 years, a new normal. If human lifespan doubled, our entire perception of time would shift. Imagine being 50 and still feeling like you're in your prime. Would we still rush to achieve things in our 20s? Would 40 be considered young adulthood? Careers would look different. Right now, people work for 40 to 50 years, but in a 200-year lifespan, would we work for 100? Would retirement be at 150? Would education last decades instead of years? Think about relationships. Right now, lifelong commitments mean 50 to 60 years together. But in a 200-year life, would marriage still make sense? Would people have multiple families across their extended lifetime? Or would new social structures emerge? The psychological toll. Would we get tired of life? Living longer sounds great, until you ask yourself, would we still appreciate life if we had too much of it? Would birthdays lose their meaning? Would accomplishments feel less rewarding? Right now, part of what makes life exciting is urgency. We take risks because time is short. But if you had 200 years, would you delay everything? Would people become less ambitious? Or would we create even greater works of art, science, and philosophy, knowing we had a century to perfect them? And what about loss? Would watching generations of friends and loved ones pass away take a toll on our mental health? Could the human mind handle that much grief? The economic shift. More people, fewer resources. A 200-year lifespan would completely disrupt society. Imagine a world where every generation stays alive much longer. Overpopulation would skyrocket. Resources like food, water, and housing would be stretched thin. Would governments create limits on how many children people can have? Would people even want kids if they had 2 centuries to focus on themselves? Think about jobs. If no one retires for 150 years, how would younger generations find work? Would companies be dominated by leaders with 120 years of experience? Or would we have to redesign the workforce entirely? And then there's wealth. If someone works and invests for 150 years, they could accumulate unimaginable riches. Would economic gaps grow wider than ever? Would new rules be put in place to prevent extreme inequality? Health and science. Would we still age? Here's the real question. Would we just live longer, or would we stay young longer? If our bodies continued aging at the same rate, a 200-year lifespan could mean spending 100 years in a weakened state. Would science have to develop ways to slow down aging entirely? Maybe the key to living 200 years wouldn't just be medicine, but technology, cybernetic implants, artificial organs, even genetic modifications. Would we still be human after so many enhancements? And what about diseases? Right now, many illnesses only emerge in old age. Cancer, Alzheimer's, heart disease. Would living longer mean we all face these conditions for a century instead of a decade? Or would science advance fast enough to cure them? The philosophical question, would life still have meaning? If we remove the fear of death, do we also remove the urgency of life? Right now, every moment is precious because we know our time is limited. If you knew you had 150 years left, would you take more risks or fewer? Would you chase your dreams or put them off, thinking, I have time? Many philosophers argue that mortality gives life meaning, that the very fact that we don't live forever forces us to make choices, to appreciate fleeting moments, to love deeply. Would a 200-year lifespan make us complacent? Would relationships lose their intensity? Would we become numb to life? Or would we evolve? Would we find new sources of meaning? Would we use our extra time to explore the universe, develop wisdom beyond anything imaginable, or unlock levels of consciousness we can't even comprehend today? Conclusion: are we ready for 200 years? A longer life isn't just about more time, it's about how we would use that time. Would we build a better world or create bigger problems? Would we use our extended years for wisdom and discovery, or fall into boredom and despair? Maybe the real question isn't could we live for 200 years, but should we? What do you think? Would you want to live for 2 centuries? Would it be a blessing or a curse? Let me know in the comments. And if this video made you think, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep questioning the future. Because in the end, time is the most valuable thing we have, no matter how much of it there is.